I'm so excited to be in St. Augustine because this is the oldest city in the U.S.
This is a beautiful site. We're headed out for some history.
We want to create a world full of bourbon stewards, not bourbon snobs. Our goal is to help you along your journey.
This is truly a high-end cocktail joint with phenomenally good food.
The flavor combinations are awesome.
It's kind of fun to be back because this is actually the first place we ever visited 6 years ago in the RV.
Welcome to a city filled with history and charm, from old forts to beautiful state parks, incredible dining to award-winning spirits. You could easily spend a whole week here in St. Augustine, but what if you only have a day or two? We're going to show you a few of our favorite things to see and do in one of the best cities to visit in Florida.
Okay, we're all set up, and this is a beautiful site.
Anastasia State Park is one of the hardest campgrounds to get into in the winter here in Florida, and this is our very first time camping here. There are more than 130 campsites that can accommodate RVs or tents, and the sites are beautifully wooded and spacious with water and electric hookups, a picnic table, and a fire pit. There's a dump station on site, and the camp store and beach access is right down the road. Okay, Howard, Scout and I have been studying the map, and we have a question.
What's up?
We want to know if you want to go on the nature trail with us, because the nature trails, the state park, are dog friendly. And there's one right here.
Let's do it.
Okay, let's go. Scout, you want to go? Yeah. She's like, go where?
We're trying out this new thing.
Sit. Good girl. Okay. Try with some treats.
I mean, ever since Ella went blind, it's like, we want to engage with her. We want her to be able to go out on the hikes too, just like Piper and Scout.
Yeah, good girl, Elle. Okay. She always puts her nose up in that corner.
Yeah, jury's still out for me. I don't know if this is going to be the best, but we'll see.
The tag is still on it for a reason.
Yeah.
Ella, sit down.
I can't even see it. Is she?
Well, she wants more TREA, yes.
Oh, yeah. This is actually a somewhat hilly, intense hike. Oh, we're on the dunes. Kaylin, I think we're on the dunes right now.
Yeah?
I think the ancient dunes. I think this is what's going on. Yeah, so Anastasia State Park is really convenient because it is right on the beach. In fact, St. Augustine Beach is just outside, and then the famous historic lighthouse is across the street.
All the plants growing on this kind of reminds me of Olympic National Park a little. Like there's ferns and mosses growing. Very pretty.
Kaylin, what'd you find?
I just found an oyster shell all the way out here. So the ocean is pretty far from where we are right now, but we just read a sign that 100,000 years ago, this was the edge of the ocean. And so all of these are ancient sand dunes that are now covered with vegetation and plants, but there's still remnants of the ocean here.
We're headed out for some history. It's kind of fun to be back at Castillo de San Marcos because this is actually the very first national park site that we hit when we hit the road in 2018.
Yeah, so it's been over 5 years now, and just walking back through these gates, and it's like giving me all the emotions because it was so exciting to just hit the road and explore. And the fort here is a must-do when you're in St. Augustine, in my opinion. There is so much incredible history that has happened here, and it's so easily accessible from town. Like, you could just walk right over from the main street and be stepping back in time.
And just like other sites that are operated by the National Park Service, this is included under the America the Beautiful Pass. But if you don't have a pass or you don't want to pay admission, you can also go on the outside as well.
Yeah, this is called the water battery area of the fort, and you can just kind of walk along and you can get really good views from the outside and go up close and look, because you can see all of the tiny coquina shells that they used to construct this. It's pretty mind-blowing that that's what these walls are made out of. The fort was originally built by the Spanish in the late 1600s to defend Florida and the trade route. You can take a deep dive on all the history dating back over the past several hundred years through their interpretive signs, displays, and demonstrations.
Viva España! Viva!
Kaylin, what do you think?
Well, the fort has so many different rooms and exhibits that you can explore, and I think they do a really good job of walking you through the timeline and through history of everybody who used this fort and when it was constructed and the different hands. It changed hands multiple times. I think it's also really cool that they have sections of the wall that are preserved where you can see old carvings. It's just really well done. So there's this really cool display downstairs that will tell you how to read a cannon. There are all of these beautiful carvings and inscriptions that'll tell you things like where it's from. And then on the side here, there's one right here on each of the cannons I've seen, and that tells you how much it weighs.
And the people here truly love what they do, including the volunteers. There's a very robust volunteer program here. And in fact, most of the people that we were interacting with were volunteers.
How can you tell what country I'm from? I'm wearing one thing that says I'm Spanish. Without that, I could be from any country in Europe. What do you think that is?
I'm gonna go with that red.
Ah, you're good. Buy a lottery ticket today. We're color-coded. Each of us go into battle with at least one arm. We're color-coded. Red is Spain. If I was English, it'd be a black armband. France would be white, the Dutch would be orange.
Fuego!
They are the ones who do the cannon demonstrations and the musket demonstrations, and a lot of the interpretation dressed in full regalia, either as a soldier or as a local person to the area. A lot of fun.
St. Augustine has no shortage of great restaurants. You can find any type of cuisine to satisfy your cravings. But if you know us, you know we love finding local hidden gems. And tucked on Avila Street, which also happens to be the oldest street in the nation, you'll find Forgotten Tonic. This location was once home to the former treasurer to the Spanish crown. Again, lots of history here. Forgotten Tonic's warm and cozy decor immediately draws you in. Known for their unique cocktails, extensive list of spirits, and fun non-alcoholic concoctions, having the bartender whip you up one of their signature drinks is a must. We opted to try out two fan favorites, Passion of Pedro, which might now be Howard's favorite just for the glass alone. It's a mix of Mexican rum, passion fruit liqueur, mango mint shrub, coconut cream, and lime juice. I had the Raising Cane, which was the perfect balance of sweet and refreshing. And oh my gosh, the food.
Don't sleep on the meal, because I gotta tell you, they are obviously well known for their cocktails. This is truly a high-end cocktail joint, but with phenomenally good food.
Yeah, you were blown away by the pork chop with the celery root puree on top. Oh, the flavors were incredible.
Yeah, and you had the daily catch, right?
Yeah, so it was mahi-mahi with a mango avocado salsa and some fried wontons, and there was toasted coconut on top. So good. The appetizers were amazing too. They were blackened chicken egg rolls that had a sriracha like ranch sauce on them. Like the flavor combinations are awesome.
We had to toast them. They were so good. And then for dessert, we had a flourless chocolate torte, which was, again, chef's kiss. It had almost the consistency of fudge. That's how dense it was. So just be prepared. If you're going to order that, come hungry.
Continuing the food and beverage part of this episode, our next stop is another local gem. St. Augustine Distillery is celebrating 10 years and was one of the first craft distilleries in the state. Today they produce bourbon, rum, gin, and vodka, and pride themselves on encompassing the spirit of Florida in every bottle, which also means helping educate, not intimidate, when it comes to teaching visitors about their spirits.
My official title on my business cards, it says my title is Bourbon Baron, but that's really because Bourbon Geek didn't sound as good. When I lead classes, when I give tours, I'll tell people that my role here is spirits education. Essentially, my goal is to be as much of a bourbon steward rather than a bourbon snob. And there's a really big difference there. Bourbon stewards are the ones that will tell you to drink good bourbon, drink it how you like it, and drink it with people that are important to you. Bourbon snobs kind of don't. They'll hide it from all their friends. They'll put a bottle on the shelf and never open it. Yeah, we're just here to talk about the facts and see what people think about our stuff. As you've seen with the Perfect Pair experience, one of our goals is to provide a real education.
We are talking about bourbon today because it's what we make here. It's our primary focus. And bourbon is a type of whiskey. So whiskeys are a big umbrella. It's grain-based alcohol aged in a barrel. It could be any kind of grain, any kind of barrel, anywhere in the world. Here in the United States, we make bourbon. And bourbon is uniquely our spirit.
You can visit a touristy distillery just about anywhere, but one of the biggest questions that we get here is from people that will say, like, well, I've been to a lot of distilleries and I didn't think you could make bourbon outside Kentucky. Like, that's rule number one. You got to learn that on at least one distillery tour.
This was so much fun, and I love to, I think Clark put it perfectly, that they want to be good bourbon stewards, not bourbon snobs. And Howard definitely has much more knowledge when it comes to bourbon than I do. So if you're like us and you're kind of a house divided on your bourbon knowledge, this is a great experience because you're learning about what you like, because your palate is completely different than anybody else's.
I'm getting chocolate.
Yeah.
I'm definitely getting a hint of chocolate now.
I get a little bit of dried cranberry. Is that weird? Yeah.
No, that's entirely legit.
And it was so much fun actually getting to sample and try out all the different things that they offer, because it's not just bourbon here. It's also gin, but it's also finished spirits. Like they have one where they finish it in a sherry barrel. And so you get kind of those rich flavors and cool notes of sherry with your whiskey.
Oh, wow. Wow. I can definitely, I was like, give it to me. Oh, yeah, it's like the spices and it's so smooth.
We've got a couple of really exciting releases right now that you can only get in this distillery, which is always super cool. We love to be able to distribute statewide in Florida, but a girl's got to have some secrets, so we keep some of the best stuff for ourselves.
And they offer all different kinds of experiences too, based on how much time you have and how much you really want to immerse yourself here. And Clark said you could literally book it like 5 minutes before, or you can just show up and do like a little self-guided tour and have a tasting.
Being that we are a Florida distillery, you're absolutely going to learn everything we can tell you about how we're making our products. It's a place where you can really get a deep dive into everything we do. And if you don't care a thing in the world about the distillation process, we'll tell you about the sustainability. We'll tell you that the grains go back to the farmers because we're working with local Florida farms to get the grains for our bourbon. We're trading barrels with other local businesses in the area. You might notice up in our gift shop that we've got honey, coffee cakes, chocolates, truffles. We don't make any of that in the building, but we partner with other local companies because when you support one local business, you're supporting anybody else they work with. We don't see it as a competition. Even the winery around the corner, we're both making beverage alcohol, but we're doing very distinct portions of that industry. So we hope that people come to visit St. Augustine and really give themselves the opportunity to try everything. You know, Applebee's is great, but not when you're traveling. You want to visit the local places. You want to visit the places that will cement themselves as part of your memory on vacation.
I'm sitting in the courtyard of what has to be one of the most beautiful college campuses in the country. This is Flagler College, right in the heart of downtown St. Augustine. The buildings are absolutely breathtaking. The attention to detail, the colors, it is spectacular. It used to be the Ponce de Leon Hotel and was eventually turned into Flagler College. It was constructed by Henry Flagler, and we're getting ready to go on a historic tour of the property to learn all about the history.
My name is Rachel. I will be your tour guide today. I am a sophomore here at Flagler College, and I'm originally from Bartow, Florida. Flagler College is a 4-year private liberal arts school. We opened up in 1968 as an all-women's institution. Later on in 1971, we became co-ed. We have around 2,700 students running around on campus. We have about 38 majors, 50 minors, and only one master's program specializing in deaf education. We could thank all this to Mr. Lawrence Lewis Jr., who was Henry Flagler's great-nephew and opened up the building as a college. So what is the first thing you noticed when you walked into this room? Ladies lobby, ladies parlor. Gotta have a very fancy name for it. It's a fancy hotel. Chandeliers, gold, very ornate. So I heard chandeliers in there. That's usually the first thing my eyes are drawn to. So these are Tiffany Austrian crystal chandeliers. There are about 11 in the collection. So how many do we think we have in this room? 11. We have all 11 because Tiffany did not like to mass produce his work. So if we look up to the ceilings that these chandeliers hang off of, you'll see this beautiful blue color. And swimming around in this blue are some white Italian plaster ships. These ships have 2 dates on them, 1512 and 1887. We refer to these 2 dates as the beginning and ending of Ponce de Leon's journey, 1512 being when Ponce de Leon arrived in Florida, and 1887 when construction on the hotel was completed.
Well, the historic tour here at Flagler College is a must-do when you're in St. Augustine.
Absolutely, and good value too. I mean, at only $17 per person, you're getting access to areas that normally the public can't see, including a dining room that is decked out with Tiffany glass.
We do have the largest collection of privately owned in-use Tiffany stained glass in the United States. Now, you may notice that these windows are not as bright and colorful as you know stained glass to be. This was done because Henry Flagler wanted his guests to be able to look out on the grounds and admire his handiwork. This was also one of Tiffany's first experiences with stained glass. His company back then was primarily known for their crystal chandeliers. But when Henry Flagler asked you to do something, you did it.
The tour itself is about an hour, which is great. You get tons of information, and then you can continue on your day.
And the fact that it's run by students, you know, this is a wonderful opportunity to learn from people who actually live here and are students here at Flagler. And they talk about all the rich history and the heritage and the fact that this was actually a hotel first and then became a college. Safe from the wrecking ball, no less.
I know, I couldn't believe when Rachel said that. The fact that they were going to just bulldoze this and turn it into a parking area, that's heartbreaking. And I'm so glad that they persevered and were able to preserve such an amazing piece of history.
So it took about 18 months to build the hotel, just around 2 years. Construction started in 1885 and shortly finished in 1887.
And I just can't wrap my head around how beautiful of a college campus this is now. Like, there are dorm rooms, and being able to sit in your dorm room and look out into this just magnificent courtyard that people used to pay thousands of dollars to stay in. Like, that is so cool.
Yeah, in today's dollars, it was $100,000 for a season. You could only stay here seasonally, so you would come down for the winter. $100,000 in today's money. Would you stay somewhere for $100,000 for the winter?
That included like all your meals, all your activities, all that kind of stuff.
Still
But
$100,000.
I know. You could go to all-inclusive resorts for much less, but this was premier. This was the place to come and winter if you were of a certain status.
You would stay from around the beginning of January to Easter. That would be your season. You could use any of the amenities here at the Hotel Ponce de Leon, as well as the Hotel Alcazar across the street, which is now the Leitner Museum and was also owned by Henry Flagler. But as a guest over at the Alcazar, you could not come over to the Ponce de Leon. It was a bit too pricey on this side of the road.
And we can't miss talking about the fountain, which has in the middle of it a giant sundial.
And the frogs are where like the arm of the clock would go to tell you the time. And then I think she said that the turtles on the inside depicted the 4 seasons.
And so you can accurately tell, based upon which frog the shadow is crossing, what time of day it is.
I highly recommend taking this when you're here in St. Augustine.
Absolutely. Plus, you get a really nifty souvenir.
On our next episode, from Corvettes to caves and all the farm animals your heart desires, we'll show you why Bowling Green, Kentucky is definitely worth a stop. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you soon.